Hello, my lovelies. Another week in London town, another strange week of all different types of weather, but we've got a little bit of very crisp, extremely windy, but kind of lovely sunshine in the last couple of days. So I've been wearing stuff that I kind of think is really good for a transition between cold weather and kind of cool spring. So I didn't actually make a transition video because unfortunately some of these things are discontinued and hard to find, although wherever I know of like a good alternative I will try to mention it. But yeah, so I didn't make a specialised video because some of these things are, although they're discontinued, a couple of, you can still find them, but they're not the easiest to find. So I didn't want to make a whole video where I'm just banging on about things that are, hard to get. Some of them are really easy to get, most of them are pretty affordable, and they're things that I've got some really nice kind of sweet florals that are kind of thicker. They have like a vanillic base or something like that. And that's the kind of stuff where it's like, I want to get into springtime, but it's not necessarily the right kind of weather for my really kind of light, bright florals that don't have something else going on in them, if you see what I mean. So the more pure florals I tend to just want to wear, and the more citrusy florals, all that kind of thing, when it's actually a bit warmer. But in the UK, it's still pretty chilly. So anyway, let's start with this big bottle because this is just Musk. This is by Mayfair. Unfortunately, I have been told by some of you guys that you can't really find these outside of the UK, which is a shame. But it's really, really nice. I love Just Musk. I've got this massive bottle. It cost me about £10. And let me just have a sniff. It's just very beautiful, this one. It's got a classic musk scent, a classic golden warm musk scent, the way that Jovan Musk does, but it's got a different, slightly more baby powderish, slightly more fluffy feel once it dries down. I think there's more rose in this one, and let me just do the notes. Coriander, bergamot, lily of the valley in the top, and then the middle is rose, iris and jasmine. The base is musk, sandalwood and cedar. Personally, I think the coriander is doing something here, but I'm not sure I'd guess it was coriander. It's not like spicy, but it's just, there's something very comforting about this one, almost like the way that tea perfumes are really comforting to me. This one feels like that. It's got a lovely sweetness, like a kind of slightly sugariness, not necessarily vanillic, but just very sweet, beautiful, lovely skin like musk. And then it's got a really nice powdery iris, which I think is what's giving it that baby powder feel. I'm not getting a huge amount of lily of the valley or jasmine. I think this is more rose and iris, this one, and it's just delicious. I wore it for the whole day. I just love it. And I've had some days off, because it's the Easter break, it's the Easter bank holidays in the UK, so we're having a lovely long weekend. And I think on Thursday, I took Thursday off. I just wore it the whole day because it was just so scrumptious. I just absolutely love it. I wore a couple of musks this week. I mean, I just wear them a fair bit anyway, I think. But because I did that musk video, they're on my mind. Okay. Now this one, I did mention it in my on my community page, but I know if you look at it, YouTube on certain apps, or if you can't always see the community page stuff, you have to kind of look for it. But I've had this in my declutter pile for such a long time because I was like, it's too sharp for me. There's something magical about it, but it's too sharp. And then I really fancied a Bluebell perfume. You'll see why later, because if you hang around till the end, I went to sniff some Jo Malone's, and I will talk to you about those then. But yeah, I was like, I just want a Bluebell perfume. And I have two, one of which, last time I wore it, gave me a real headache. So I was like, ugh. And also, I've got the little Yardley one, but is it Bluebell and Sweet Pea? So I think it's kind of half and half. But I just thought, I'm going to try this one again. So this is Stella Pop Bluebell. It's the one with the purpley ball, whatever you call it, purpley sphere, rather than the pink one. I'm just going to spray this out. Woo! Yeah. So I just got on really well with this time around. And I don't know if I'm trying to work out whether the thing with Stella Pop Bluebell is that I've never tried it in cold spring before, because like I said, it's quite cold weather at the moment. Or, which I think might be more likely, I feel like every time I've smelt this version of Stella Pop, I've also been comparing it with the regular Stella Pop, right? And the regular Stella Pop is considerably sweeter than this one. So I feel like maybe I've just been comparing them to be like, do I need both or whatever? Or just to see if they smell alike, or just so I can talk about like their similarities. And when smelling Stella Pop, because it's really quite syrupy sweet, this one in comparison smells quite sharp. But when I wore it the other day, I was just like, oh, it's perfect. It's actually lovely. But it is definitely a sharper experience. It's definitely a little bit more piercing, I would say. So I think if I wore this when I was not in the mood for it, it might be a little bit difficult, but it's so pretty and it is a perfect spring perfume. It's really lovely. I mean, again, if you like the plasticky doll heady smell that you get in perfumes, then and you prefer sweeter perfumes, absolutely go for the original Stella Pop. But if not, then this one is actually really pretty. It's very similar. So if I give you the notes, because it's almost exactly the same notes. In fact, I think it is. Let me just have a think. Yeah, I think it's identical notes, apart from this one has bellflower in, which in the UK we call bluebells. So the notes are violet leaf, tomato leaf, green mandarin in the top. Middle notes are bellflower, violet, tuberose and frangipani in the mid. And then the base notes are musk, sandalwood and cedar. So like I said, they're exactly the same notes. So this is basically Stella Pop, the underlying base of Stella Pop, but remove the plasticky doll head smell and remove some of the sweetness and add in a bluebell note. That's kind of what this is. And so although it's definitely got a noticeable bluebell note, if you've ever smelled any other bluebell perfumes, this has that bluebell note that you smell in those. It's quite recognisable. But it's still, to me, a violet tuberose frangipani perfume with a fair bit of the tomato leaf. I love tomato leaf in perfumes. It's absolutely one of my faves. So it still has that fresh greenness, which is something that, even though it's sweetened Barbie Dolly, Stella Pop also has. It still has the slight bubblegumminess, but without the plasticky note from the tuberose. It still has that kind of beautiful, slightly creamy frangipani note. And then it's got quite a lot of violet. And I do always think of Stella Pop, like I wear that quite often if I want a violet perfume, because although it is also definitely tuberose, it's like violet tuberose to me. Like those are the main things when I'm thinking about, do I want to wear a tuberose perfume or do I want to wear a violet perfume? Those are the ones I'll go for. If I want to wear a frangipani perfume, this won't be the one that I go for. If I want to wear a tomato leaf perfume, this also won't be the one that I go for, if you see what I mean. So now this one is, to me, like if I was thinking I want to wear a light violet perfume, a more spring-like, slightly sharper violet, this would be perfect. Or if I want a bluebell perfume. So this kind of moves into that realm and slightly more away from the tuberose, if you see what I mean. Because it's not quite as bubblegummy, but it's so pretty. They are both, I think, out of production, I should say. But there's loads of them. They're really easy to find. They're super cheap. If you like, I'd say almost if you like white floral perfume, so if you are someone who likes the kind of brighter, slightly sharper floral perfumes, this is the one to go for. If you like sweeter ones, Stella Pop is the one to go for. But I'm really happy that I got on with this, because I always liked it. I just found it a little bit screechy, and now I've changed my mind. Okay, well, this one I just wear all the time because it's just lush. I won't talk about it too much. This is Fallen in Love by Philosophy. Falling in Love, I should say. You will see this again soon when my Fruity Musks comes up, because this is basically the queen of Fruity Musks. It is a Blackberry musk, and it's incredibly musky. It's light, it's creamy, it's got vanilla in it. It's also got jasmine and lily of the valley, but again, I don't get that. I get blackberry, vanilla and musk. Those are the things I get here, and it's not necessarily massively vanillic. To me, it smells more kind of creamy sweet. It's got more of a kind of a sweetened cream feel to the sweetness here. a really lovely, quite natural, juicy blackberry, and then a lovely, gorgeous, sexy musk. This one I've said before, it doesn't necessarily last a really long time on my skin, but it lasts forever on my clothes, so I just go ham with it. I've got this massive 120ml bottle, which I always point it out, I've got over 200 perfumes, so to have any kind of dent in this perfume, which is 120 mils, that's how much I like and I use this perfume. I do massively overspray it, but I just love it, and I love reapplying it, and I love my robes and my clothes smelling like it. It's just so delicious. It's just a perfect Cass perfume because I always loved fruity musks. They were always quite high up on my list. And I particularly like kind of raspberries and blackberries and blackcurrant, you know, those are my faves. Okay, so now we get more into the transitional florals. So let's start with this guy. Sometimes this one is too much for me. Sometimes I sniff it, and because it's very ambery, I'm like, no. But other times, absolutely love it. And this was a week to love it. This is Tocade from Rochas. And this is the one that I just feel like it has a little bit of a kind of Turkish delighty scent, you know, just a really, really lush one. So Tocade, the notes that they currently show, because this is the current formulation, they're slightly different to the original formulation notes. It's that, again, I know modern perfumers and modern houses, they tend to give you like a really small amount of notes that you're like, well, all perfumes would smell the same if they only had like these specific 3 notes and nothing else. So I'm pretty sure most of the time there's loads of notes, they just don't really tell you. But this one, I think, just maybe doesn't have civet and some of the other things that might have made this slightly more old-fashioned and a little bit heavier. You know, obviously the laws have changed around things like oak moss and like natural musks and civet and all that kind of thing. So this, I think, is probably an easier version of the original Tocade from what I've read and what I've heard people talk about, the differences between the formulations. But anyway, so I specifically wanted this formulation, the more modern one. I don't find this particularly heavy, and I don't find it particularly difficult to wear unless, like I said, I'm not in a kind of powdery amber mood. And that's the same with another one I'll talk about later, which I kind of feel like Tocade and the other one, they're basically sisters. They're like the same kind of thing, but with different florals. So some people describe this as a vanilla perfume. I think this is more of a sugary rose perfume with a little bit of a vanillic base, but a lot of amber. It's definitely powdery. So this is top notes of geranium and bergamot, middle notes of rose, iris and jasmine, base notes, vanilla, amber, tonka bean, almond and labdaman. So the almond, labdaman and amber, along with the iris, I think makes this super, super powdery. But again, like, it just has this beautiful rose note, and it's a very sweet amber, so it's definitely got some vanilla going on. And it is technically kind of an unusual vanilla, but I do think there's also a real sugary sweetness from the tonka. And like I said, like, if I'm in the mood for this, I think it smells like a lovely rose Turkish delight covered in powdered sugar. Like, that's the kind of feel that this gives me. And I was just really in the mood for it. And I think it's such a good transitional perfume because it's obviously a bit thicker and stronger than you might choose for like real kind of slightly warm spring weather. It's also such a mixture of the floral elements. There's definitely some geranium. But, oh, I've just remembered something else that I wore. I shall have to grab it in a second. But it's rose. It's definitely, I think of this as a rose perfume, but it's a very sweet rose with a lot of amber. So it's like an amber and rose perfume. So there's more going on. So it's a little bit much, I think, for me personally. I'm just reaching across my bed to grab this other thing because I actually wore it on the same day, or in the evening, I should say. I don't think my husband's mad for this one, but then he doesn't really like Turkish delighty smells, just full stop. But I'm just going to mention it now. I went and got Rose Jam in a solid form from Lush because, so I'm really sorry to the person who suggested that I try the solid of Lust, because I can't even remember what video that was on, but it was one of the ones where I mentioned that I love the smell of Lust from Lush, but it's way too strong for me, and it's just like, it's so intense and the jasmine is so strong But I think it's the most beautiful jasmine perfume I've ever smelt. Like, I still feel like that. And a lovely, I don't know if they're a subscriber or just someone who watched the video, someone very lovely, shout out if it was you, said, maybe you could try the solid version of Lust. And I did, and I love it, and I bought it, and I'm saving it for spring. And then I also decided to get Karma, because someone gave me a gift card I could use at Lush. Because Karma is another one. I love the shower gel. I love how it smells, but the patchouli in it, and because it's really quite strong, it gives me a bit of a headache. So I was like, I just want to be able to use the shower gel and then have a little light touch of that and keep the smell going for a bit without it being strong. So I got that one. And while I went to get that one, I tested Rose Jam out in the solid form, because the original perfume, it just doesn't work for me. I don't know whether it's the geranium, because as I've said before, sometimes I really struggle with geranium. It goes quite pissy on me. So I get this kind of indolic scent from that particular perfume. And Rose Jam, I really like the rose in it. I like the kind of jamminess of it. On Fragrantica, it says that there's marmalade in it. And I don't know. I'm not really sure if that's what Lush say. But so this version of Rose Jam is what I wanted the perfume to smell like on me. It is extremely jammy and very rosy. It has a sugary sweetness. It's got that kind of thick bitterness from something like a marmalade, you know, like it still smells like there's peel in it or something. But it doesn't go indolic on me. It doesn't get too pissy. It gets sweet and sugary. And that kind of Turkish delighty smell, which is exactly what I wanted from the perfume or the body spray. And neither of them smell good on me. This one, maybe just because it's lighter, I don't know. Or maybe it's something to do with whatever these are made with, that it gives like a more creamy consistency. I'm not sure. I assume it's the same perfume in it, you know. But it worked so much better. And it's so pretty. And I was wearing this. When I bought it, I couldn't resist, because I'd had this on all day and I hadn't topped up because I knew I was going to go to Lush. So I thought, right, I'll wear Tocade all through. It lasted me all day. So it's not horrifically strong, but it does last quite well still. I put it on at like 8 in the morning, and then like by the time I left work, maybe 5 o'clock, then I was ready to have a different perfume on. But I thought, right. So I went and bought this. I put it on literally a little bit on my hand, a little bit on my wrist, on either side, and a bit on each side of my neck. And I could smell this on the rush hour tube full of people through my mask. I still wear a mask because I actually don't get as many colds and coughs as I used to using the tube. It's not just COVID fear, it's just general, you know, nice to not be ill all the time using public transport. So anyway, yeah, so I think Rose Jam is a lovely perfume generally, but I just can't get along with the spray version, and this is the answer. So I now have 3 of the pots. This one, perfect strength for me, light, lovely, jammy, sugary rose with, I mean, let me just have a look and see what it says on Fragrantica. I mean, this is another Simon Constantine, isn't it? Like I said, I miss his Lush perfumes. So this says Turkish rose oil, marmalade, lemon, spicy notes and geranium. Don't find it massively spicy, but I definitely get the lemon. The marmalade, like I said, there's definitely a kind of unusual bitterness to here, where it doesn't smell like strawberry jam or anything like that. So marmalade would make sense. But yeah. So actually, they, to be honest, they smell really good together, because this one brings out the jammy rose that's in here and the kind of Turkish delighty smell. But this adds a vanillic powderiness to Rose Jam. So yeah, it's just, yeah, that was a fun day. It was really delicious. I was in a rose mood. Yeah, so there you go. Okay, next. I've been talking for ages already. My goodness. Oh, I hope you guys, I imagine my subscribers like long form videos, because otherwise this would be a nightmare for you, wouldn't it? All right. So Tocade done. So then also I wore Wild Musk. This is the original formulation, but I also have the exclamation version of Wild Musk, which is, I mean, sadly, not as good as the old formulation of Wild Musk, but still really nice. It was just when I was at home at the weekend and I wanted to smell sexy and yummy, but not too strong. Gosh, I love this perfume. I really now that musks are trendy again, like they're really, really fashionable. Like things like, you know, Fleur Missing Person and Amber Musk, you know, by Arden, and then you've got all of the Narciso Rodriguez. Like, it blows my mind that Coty haven't just brought the formulation of Wild Musk back, because this would be incredibly popular. If you like Missing Person by Fleur, this would blow your mind. This is so much better. It's so delicious. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really like Missing Person. It's just quite expensive for what it is. This, it's just sexy musk. And the only notes, I might actually have to put that one over there, to be honest. With the other musk, they only say musk, vanilla and rose and jasmine. Again, probably more going on here. I'm sure that there's sandalwood in this, for instance. Absolutely sure of that. But apart from that, I'm not really sure what else is going on. But it does smell delicious. Absolutely delicious. Love it. As I said, if you can't get this one, which you probably won't be able to, realistically, because it's quite hard to find and people charge a lot of money for it, understandably, then exclamation Wild Musk. Mwah! Absolute beaut. Now then, you might have seen that I had the... Oh, let me pull the lid off. The coconut breeze version of green tea. Now, when I was testing that, I was also comparing it to the original green tea. And literally as soon as I smelled green tea, I was like, I've got to wear green tea. I honestly... This is one of those perfumes when people don't like it, I don't understand. You know, like some people really, so many people love Narciso Rodriguez Musk Noir Rose, for instance. And I feel like when people say, I don't like me, I really don't like that, I think it smells old fashioned and gross, then or like really sickly, too much vanilla. People probably like, what are you talking about? Everyone loves that. Everyone loves Delina. I really don't like it. I think it's gross. You know, like that's how I feel about green tea. I cannot understand when people don't like green tea, because I think it's one of my favourite smells in the world. And I've loved it for so long, and it's so delicious. And you do need to respray it. It's really not too bad on me personally, and it's not too bad. It's good on clothes, much better on clothes. But it is the smell of relaxation. It's so beautiful. And so this is the thing. This is why the flankers never stay in my collection, because every time I smell it, I just want to wear the original. I just, I can't bring myself to wear anything that reminds me too much of green tea if it doesn't actually smell like green tea, because it's so perfect. And, you know, Baccarat Rouge obviously is like a really important perfume. It's changed the way the perfume smells, and that's Francis Kirk de Jean. But this changed the way the perfume smells. Like this, when this came out, changed the way the perfume smells. And it's so good and it's so important. Like, it is a Chanel No. 5 level important perfume. I am absolutely very passionate about that. And it just is so easy to wear. Any occasion, any weather. I love it. And I just, every flanker, I'm like, oh, there's just a little bit of green tea, but not enough green tea. So this is the thing. Because obviously I have the coconut breeze one, and like I said, it's almost a little bit like a less herbal mixture of this with a less creamy version of my yuzu and coconut water from 4711 Acqua Colonia range. And so I'm probably realistically, I'm just gonna end up decluttering the green tea coconut breeze, because if I'm in a coconut mood, I'll probably reach for the yuzu and coconut one. And if I'm in a green tea mood, I'm going to wear this one. I can't get enough of it. I only planned to wear it for like half a day, and I just carried on. And then I wanted to wear it the next day, but I was like, no, let's do something different today, because you've got so many. You've got to show them equal love. But I love this one. So I get too passionate sometimes. Sorry, guys. But anyway, top notes are lemon, bergamot, mint, orange peel and rhubarb. And I think mainly you get the citrus and a little bit of mint from that. I don't really get lots of rhubarb here. I'm sure it's doing something magical though. Middle is jasmine, oak moss, fennel, musk, carnation and white amber. Base is green tea, jasmine, oak moss, musk, celery seeds, caraway, cloves, amber. There is just, in it, I'm sure it's the fennel and the mint with the green tea and the moss. Yeah, there's definitely mint. It's just so herbal, but in the most beautiful, sweet but not sickly way. And I just got a perfume with green tea in, which is too far down the sweet range. I will talk about it. I'll have to do a little video. But I found it so sickly, and this is never sickly. It's watery. It's almost aquatic feeling. It is just, and also like the smell of a holiday or something, you know? It's so beautiful. Anyway, I love it. I've got to stop talking about it, but I'm obsessed. Okay, so another transitional perfume that unfortunately you can't get hold of. I've never found an easy to get anyway dupe of this. But so my husband and I went out on Friday night. We went for a little meal, then we went to watch my favourite ever podcast. So a little bit of information about things that I love. I really love comedy. I've been obsessed with comedy since I was very, very young. I also absolutely love film. I actually studied film when I was at university, and well, along with other things, but it's one of the things I actually chose to study. And I love podcasts. I absolutely love listening to people talk. It's why I love long form. I love watching people on YouTube doing long form stuff. I love people talking about things they're passionate about, which is probably why I started this channel. And so my favourite podcast, if you guys don't already know it, is one called How Did This Get Made, which is a really funny podcast with Jason Mantzoukas, June Diane Raphael and Paul Scheer. And they talk about terrible movies, sometimes really good movies actually. They did a Drop Dead Fred one, which I will absolutely stamp my foot about because I love Drop Dead Fred. I love Rick Mail. I told you, I love comedy. So anyway, it meant we were at the Hackney Empire, right? So we were in like a very enclosed small space with loads of people for and we were there for like maybe 3 hours altogether watching this podcast record. So I wanted to wear something delicious because it was a date night with my husband. I wanted to wear something he liked. I wanted to wear something weather appropriate. And yesterday when we left, it was sunny, but it was cold, quite crisp and very windy. But I wanted to be able to smell something pretty and nice, but I didn't want to offend any of the other people we were sitting near, you know? And this is just a perfect one. So I wore Donna Acqua. My husband really likes this. I really love it. Again, it's really annoying. It's very difficult to get hold of because it's been discontinued, but I am holding out hope because obviously they just brought out the green, what do they call it? Green Stravaganza, which apparently smells very similar to the other one that came out in this bottle. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a tea perfume and it was a green liquid. So I hope this is a sign that they'll just bring it back as a Valentino, Donna, something in one of the original bottles. And I hope for everyone else's sake they bring this back because it's the only Valentino I've ever smelt that I like. I think it's absolutely stunning. It is a beautiful rose and frangipani perfume with a ton of sweet almond. Oh, it's so good. But it's got a very beautiful pear note in this, and I think that's what makes me love it so much. I love pear perfumes. So I'm not going to read what it says on Fragrantica because I had the carded sample of this. So I'm going to read what it says on the carded sample because personally I think it's a better description of what this actually smells like. So it says green almond, frosted pear, frangipani rose accord, roasted tonka bean. Absolutely delicious. I think it says there's jasmine in it on Fragrantica, and there might be, but I don't really get much jasmine here. I very much get a bit of rose, loads of frangipani, loads of roasted tonka, loads of delicious almond, and a fabulous sugary pear. I love it. The only other thing really in my collection, well, there's two. It's got a similar pear note to Burberry Brit EDP, but it also, like generally speaking, wearing it is closer to kind of God is a Woman for me in a weird way. I don't know why. I think it's because Burberry Brit EDP has like a woodiness. It's got like that quite sharp citrus. And this one feels fluffy and soft and pretty and extremely feminine. And I think that's how God is a Woman smells. Like, I think that God is a Woman is light. Well, no, this one's really light, to be honest. You have to keep respraying this. It doesn't have a good longevity. But God is a Woman is a beautiful, soft rose, fluffy, pretty ambrette, and then a gorgeous pear note. And they kind of have a crossover. So like this morning when I got up in the morning, it's Saturday today, sneaky peek, I put on God is a Woman because really I just wanted to carry on wearing this one, but because it's discontinued, I'm not going to constantly be wearing this. But yeah, anyway, oh gosh, I've really got to cut down a bit on how long I'm talking about these. Okay, so then to work, This is a strong perfume that I find difficult to wear in warmer weather, so I like it better in colder weather, even though it's definitely very springtimey. This, unfortunately, I think they don't make this anymore, but you might be able to find it, and if you can find it, it's probably really cheap. Like, I got this for like £15, this massive bottle. I mean, I've got a tiny dent in this one, but not much. So this is Something Blue by Oscar de la Renta. It is a strong perfume, but it's not strong again like in the old classic perfume way. It's surprisingly strong for a gentle sweet green floral, and it is like a green floral. It's okay, I'm just going to give you the notes because I do think sometimes I've heard other people talk about this and people describe it in really interesting ways. And I always thought that this was quite a vanilla-y perfume, and wearing it again, I do still get quite a lot of vanilla here. But when I think I heard Chris from the Perfume Nest talking about this, and I feel like the way she described it, I thought was like, oh, I don't really smell it the same as that. So it was really interesting. But the notes are linden blossom, so lime blossom in the top, neroli, bergamot, mandarin orange. Middle notes are lily of the valley, stephanotis, narcissus and lychee. Base notes are white musk, amberette, cashmere wood, ambergris and bourbon vanilla. This is very, very green and leafy when you first spray it, like super green and leafy. It's called Something Blue because of the rhyme for brides. This is so heavy, this thing. Never really thought about that before. It's very heavy. And every time I take the thing off, this little ring that comes with it falls off. But I could just take that off, to be fair. It's green. It smells, to me, because I've got some other perfumes that have linden blossom in, it really smells like linden blossom to me. That is like pretty much the main floral for me here, the main kind of feel of this when it dries down. I am sure that some of that greenness is coming from the neroli, though, because I find neroli to often be very green and sometimes quite sharp, but this is not a sharp perfume. It's definitely green, it's grassy, leafy when you first spray it. There's definitely a little bit of that liminess coming through and a little bit of the citrusiness. And then it kind of settles down and it turns into this white floral bouquet. But like I said, I get so much linden blossom in this. And then you get a lovely musky vanilla coming through, and the vanilla really changes this. I don't think I've really smelt many perfumes that smell like this one. I do think it feels slightly similar to my Mon Petit one, because I can't remember if that's lime blossom or the other one that kind of reminds me of it. There's a couple of quite strange green florals. Angelica, that's the one I'm thinking of. That one might be Angelica, I can't remember. I think it's linden blossom though. See, I told you, I've dropped it and it's gone flying, so I'm just not going back on right now. But it took me such a long time to find a white floral that wasn't too sickly for me. Like, obviously I've got, I mentioned it in my spring perfumes. I've got the Dior, is it Diorissimo? I always get, there's so many of them, Diorella, Diorissimo, all the rest of it. The Lily of the Valley one, which has a nice sweetness, but that's definitely more of a white floral. This one, I smelt so many white florals that I thought smelled like white wine, or they were just screechy, or they were too sharp. And then this one came along, I was like, this one is like almost, for me back then, was almost too sweet, but in a kind of vanilla way. And I'd not really come across a vanilla-y white floral that smelt like this while also being green. I mean, I can't remember if I actually put this in my unusual vanillas, but to me, it is sort of straddling white floral and green and vanilla in terms of like where its profile sits. But anyway, I think this is an amazingly good value perfume. It lasts forever on me. Like, it's so long lasting. It's strong. It would be perfect for weddings, definitely. Like, I mean, probably not in the height of summer for me personally. I think maybe it would become a bit cloying. But I really do think it's so perfect for a transition between winter and spring, because it smells like a spring perfume, but it performs like more like a cold weather perfume, you know? So I think it's that perfect kind of slot in between. And then the last one I wore, see, again, it's like Tocade. When I'm in the mood for Casmir, oh my goodness, This is delicious. So this is Chopard's Casmir. I absolutely love these bottles. I just think they're so old fashioned chic, like as in like Hollywood actress, absolute diva, beautiful bottles. I love it. Slightly apricotty peachy smell, slightly syrupy. For me, this I think of this as a vanilla and ylang ylang perfume. That's just what I think of it of. It doesn't even list ylang ylang, and it smells like ylang ylang. Like I feel like a lot of people think that because it gets compared so much to ylang ylang perfumes, but it does have kind of a similar, slightly less powdery base than Tocade. This smells like the vanilla, slightly ambery, slightly kind of peachy fruity ylang ylang version of Toka, which is like an amber, vanilla, rose, kind of slightly citrusy, you know. Such fun to wear. It's really nice. And actually, I'm not sure if it's because I've got a new formulation, but I don't find this one, although when I first got it, I thought it smelled a bit like plastic. And I'm not sure if that's just because when you first spray it, it needs to hit the air. Because I feel like this one gets nicer and nicer the longer it's sat in my collection. But I didn't struggle with it when it was a little bit warmer, if you see what I mean. I thought I might only want to wear this in really cold weather, but it's worked really nicely in a slightly warmer, like kind of cold spring. It's really, really good for that kind of transitional period, I would say. So this is top notes of peach, coconut, mango, bergamot, fruits. Middle notes of geranium, jasmine, floral notes, lily of the valley. Base notes of vanilla, amber, sandalwood, musk, patchouli, and woodsy notes. I mean, it's just so much fun to wear. I feel like in the floral notes, to me, that must be ylang ylang. This smells like every other perfume I've ever had that has a ylang ylang in it. It smells like ylang ylang. It's just yummy. But if you don't like any kind of vintage perfumes, you might find this a bit vintage. If you buy it and you think it smells like burning rubber or like a melting plastic plate, which is I think how I described it at first, even though I found it really appealing, it was weird, really weird. One of the weirdest things I've ever smelled. But then, like, I just let it sit for a few months. Maybe like the transportation, maybe if it gets too shaken up or something, it smells a bit weird. I don't know. Or if it's too cold or too hot or whatever. But now when I sniff it, I'm like, it's beautiful. Occasionally, I'm like, it's a bit too powdery, a bit too ambery for me in certain moods, same as Tocade. But if I'm in the mood to wear this one, then I'm in the mood to wear this one. And you probably will notice that when I wear this one, I might follow it by this one or vice versa, because they really do have a lot of similarities in how they feel to wear, even though they don't smell the same. So anyway, right then. So anyone who gets bored of people talking about sampling things, you can switch off now, and thank you very much for watching. But everyone else who doesn't, I will talk to you about Jo Malone. So the reason I wanted to go and smell Jo Malone, a couple of reasons. One, I was thinking about Bluebell perfumes, and I was thinking about Honeysuckle perfumes. And I really like Honeysuckle, but I've yet to kind of find a actual dominant note Honeysuckle perfume. The closest I feel like maybe the closest I've got is the Kim Kardashian Honey, because that's got a lot of honeysuckle in it. And I have a few others that have honeysuckle in, but I'm not sure. I get a lot of it in Covet by Sarah Jessica Parker. That one, actually, genuinely, another one that I think will be really good. I did have it on my list to possibly wear this week, but I didn't get round to it. I think I got slightly sidetracked by by Stella Pot Bluebell and green tea. But yeah, so Covet by Sarah Jessica Parker it's got a chocolate note, it's got a lemon note, it's quite woody, and then it's got a really beautiful honeysuckle note. So those are the two, but neither of them are kind of spring honeysuckle perfumes to me. There's too much other things going on. So I've ordered a bunch of little minis from Yardley. If you live in the UK, Yardley currently have sets of 4. They've got the contemporary ones and the classic florals. Sets of 4 10ml spray bottles. I think it says spray, so let's hope they are when they turn up. And they're £8 something each for 4 mini bottles. So I was like, I'm going to try those, and I'm going to go and, because one of them's a honeysuckle, one of them's a bluebell. I've had the bluebell and sweet pea before. One of them, I think there's a violet one. So I've got a bunch of stuff coming. And I thought, right, I'm going to go and have a sniff of some of the Jo Malones, because I wanted to smell the honeysuckle and Davana from them anyway. But I thought this will be really interesting so that I've got something to compare to the Yardleys, because Yardleys are light, they're very pretty florals, and generally I think they're really good. And to be honest, they're not a mile away from the kind of vibe you get with Jo Malone. Jo Malone, they're light perfumes, they're eau de colognes, but they're super expensive. So I thought I'm going to go and sniff and I'm going to see what I feel. Let's start then with the honeysuckle one, because that's the one I specifically went to smell. So this is honeysuckle and Davana, and the wonderful thing about Jo Malone is that they have the name of the perfume on the actual little spray card, and then they have the notes on the back. It's so good. So honeysuckle and Davana is, it says, the wilderness of honeysuckle winding through the English countryside, fluorescent, sunny and happy. Top notes Davana, heart notes English honeysuckle, and base notes Musk. It says it's good paired with myrrh and tonka, which is interesting. But so I can't smell a huge amount left here, but for me, the Davana in here is a little bit too strong for this to be something that I would necessarily want to wear, because I have worked out, and actually I've sort of worked it out even more so since I had to return that Lush perfume called New Romantics. Davana kind of gives me a bit of a headache if there's a lot of it. And this one, even though the honeysuckle note in this is genuinely lovely, beautiful, the Davana is too strong for me, and it is a little bit headache inducing. I wasn't, when I first sprayed it, I was like, oh my God, that was really pretty. And then the more the honeysuckle came out, I was like, oh, lovely. And then by the time I got home, the Davana felt like it had taken over a bit. And it was like, it just made me feel like I can smell from this card that this would give me a headache. So, but it'll be really interesting to compare this one to the Yardley honeysuckle. I can't remember what other notes are in that one, but I'm really looking forward to testing those out. And I will do a proper video, obviously, of all the Yardley when they arrive. But it's really pretty. So what I actually wrote, I think I've just said everything I wrote. Yeah, basically, I think it's really pretty, but it's probably a bit headache inducing for me. And then let's look at Wild Bluebell, because that was the other one, because I want to compare that to Bluebell and Sweet Pea. Yeah, I can't really, I mean, obviously these are eau de cologne, so even though I've had them in little plastic bags, I can't smell them anymore. So Wild Bluebell, there it is. And then on the back, got all the details. So luminous sapphire flowers gently blooming in a shaded secluded woodland. Dewy, luminous, delicate. Oh, they like the word luminous, don't they? It's fair enough. Beautiful though. Top note Bluebell, heart note persimmon, base note white musk. It says nice paired with wood, sage and sea salts. That's interesting. Yeah, I can't really smell it anymore. I really like this one. I really like Wild Bluebell. I would happily wear Wild Bluebell. It's very light. It's incredibly light, pretty, spring-like, beautiful. It's not, to be honest, a million miles away from the Bluebell and Sweet Pea from Yardley. I remember because I used to have a bottle of that. I did a big declutter of like loads of floral bottles that I just wasn't wearing, but I'll be happy to have a miniature of that one back because I kind of regretted getting rid of it, to be honest. It has a very similar Bluebell note to that, a very similar Bluebell note to what's in Stella Pop Bluebell, but it's watery, it's fresh. The persimmon is quite an interesting, slightly fruity smell, but it's light, it's sweet, it's not too sharp at all. It doesn't have a screechy musk in it. It's super pretty. Really like this one, but I do think if you want an affordable version, I think you'd probably really like, if you like this, you'll really like the blueberry and sweet pea, the Bluebell and Sweet Pea from Yardley. It's really pretty and you can get it for so cheap. So yeah, I really like that one a lot. So let's talk about, I also thought, right, let's have a compare to wood, sage and sea salt, because everyone always talks about this one and I've never really paid much attention because it's called wood, sage and sea salt. And I'm like, sometimes salty perfumes are a problem. I'm not necessarily always mad for really woody perfumes. And I do like sage, but I've got so many sage perfumes, so I've never really paid much attention. I can sort of smell this a little bit. So wood, sage and sea salt. Notes on the back. So I can read from here actually. Ambrette seeds, sea salt and sage. I feel like maybe there's more going on here, but at the same time, I do feel like ambrette is the main thing in here. I can absolutely understand why so many people absolutely love this perfume. It's super unisex, like perfectly unisex. I feel like it's more ambrette with just a hint of a herbal woody scent and then a very, very soft salt. It's not something that I feel like is a super unusual profile. I feel like probably there's loads of perfumes that smell a bit like this because there was something reminiscent about this to me. Like I kind of recognized the smell, but I can't quite put my finger on what it was making me think of. But I love this. I think it smells beautiful. I would not pay Jo Malone prices for this particular kind of perfume probably, but I also think I prefer this on my husband. I think it would smell so good on him. So yeah, I don't know, maybe if I find something similar, I might see if he likes it because it's very light, really easygoing, but it has a really beautiful ambrette in it. Personally, if I'm going to wear a light ambrette, again, I'm probably going to go for God is a Woman just because I love that pear note and I like the rose and it's much more feminine, but it does have that beautiful fluffy ambrette. This is a more masculine, as in like perfectly unisex, but would make more sense for a man than something like God is a Woman. But it still has that lovely, light, fluffy musk. It's just really pretty. Yeah, I totally understand why everyone loves wood, sage and sea salt. I understand why this is on a lot of people's kind of top perfumes for life. I feel like it's such an easy reach, you know. And then the last one I smelt, just because it caught my eye. I mean, you can't really smell anything on these anymore, which is fair enough because I've had them for a few days. Blackberry and bay. So this one says blackberry, bay leaves and cedarwood, pair with orange blossom. What did the other sage? Lime, wood, sage and sea salt says to pair it with lime, basil and mandarin. Yeah. Really pretty. This one, oh my goodness, like when I first sprayed this, I was like, oh, that is a classic Cass circa 2006 smell. It's exactly, when it opens, the kind of perfume that I would have worn as a signature scent when I was younger. It has this amazing, amazing natural smelling juicy blackberry and a lovely aromatic green note. And then, yeah, I mean, I loved it. And I love that bay note. I love the blackberry. But then the more it dries down, the more the cedar comes through. And the more the cedar comes through on this one, the more I think it smells. It starts to lean more masculine and feminine to my personal nose. But as I've said, I love blackberry. I love it. For me, falling in love is the beautiful, musky blackberry of my dreams. Feminine, sweet, pretty. This is a fresher, slightly more masculine, greener version of a blackberry. It's gorgeous. But yeah, I like the first like half an hour of it. And then after that, it kind of gets a bit more masculine. Again, I would love this on my husband. I would love it. He has the Acqua Colonia Blackberry and Cocoa, which for some insane reason was only a limited edition, even though it's one of their best ones. And he smells absolutely scrumptious in that perfume. And that one, I would say, smells like delicious blackberries, wood and cocoa, like cacao. It's a real tragedy they don't make that anymore. And when he runs out, I'm going to be so sad because it's my absolute favourite on him. He smells so delicious in it. But anyway, and I think, like Jo Malone, they have a lot of beautiful perfumes, but they're very expensive for the performance and for like, you know, it's fair enough. And especially if you like only want a few perfumes, then fine, it makes more sense to be spending that kind of money. But I do think that a lot of the Acqua Colonias from 4711, and like I said, in the floral ones, a lot of the Yardleys, aren't a massive amount different from these, to be honest. As you probably know, I collect the Acqua Colonias from 4711. I love them. And I do feel like there's a lot, if you keep your eye out especially, there's quite a lot that have that Jo Malone feel. So I still don't feel the need to buy any Jo Malones. I think they're really pretty, really, really lovely. I smelt some beautiful ones. I've also smelt loads that I think I would love on my husband, but I think you can get decent dupes of them. You can get things that are quite similar. You can get lovely perfumes that, I think they'll just be fine to get like cheaper versions of things. But I do understand. I'm not saying people shouldn't spend money, but if you're watching my channel, you're probably with me and you're like, I'd rather just not spend so much and get a kind of cheaper version. But they're beautiful, and I'm going to keep hold of these little plastic things, even though I can't really smell them anymore, just so that when I'm talking about my Yardleys, if there's anything I think compares, I will definitely let you know. And I think, genuinely, some of them will compare to these lovely perfumes. So, that's me done. Have I been talking for a million years? Oh, my goodness. I hope you guys had a lovely week. Please do let me know what you've been wearing, and let me know what the weather's been like at where you guys are, because it's like, I'm ready for warmth. I'm ready for warmth now. Thank you so much to all my subscribers who keep returning and watching my rambling reviews, and thank you so much to anyone who's just found my channel. If you like it, please do subscribe. Makes a massive difference to me. And you are all wonderful. Thank you for engaging with me. I love reading your comments. I love having little chats about perfumes, and I hope that everyone's been enjoying the slightly strange weather, but early kind of spring that's coming up around. Bye, guys.